Juicy dumplings filled with shrimp and pork, all swimming in a delicious broth, is pure comfort. These are way better than wontons. Hey everyone, I'm Flo, Dude is behind the camera, and we're all about simple food, simple faith. When I was growing up, we would always just order wontons. Every time we went out for dinner or went for, I guess what they call it, like a midnight snack, we would always order wonton with noodles. And when I was little, I guess I didn't really appreciate this dumpling. In Chinese, it's called sui gao. It literally translates into a water dumpling. I guess what I didn't like about it were all the crunchy things in it, but I do appreciate them now. One of the crunchy things that are in this particular dumpling are wood ear, and they come dried in packages like this. And just let me take some out to show you what it looks like before they're rehydrated. And you don't need very much. So this was probably about 2 tablespoons that I've put into hot water, and I've let it sit for about half an hour, and that's how much it came out. Wood ear is actually called, is also called dried black fungus, and essentially it's just a mushroom. So the first thing you want to do is get those rehydrated. The other crunchy thing that I didn't like as a kid is bamboo shoots. And these are just from a can. I was tempted actually to purchase fresh ones, but they're ginormous and I only need like this little bit. I would like to use about the same amount as the black fungus or the wood ear. So I would say probably about 1/3 to 1/2 cup. And I'm going to cut these down. I could have bought the strips, but I find the strips are too long, so I'm going to cut these down myself. And the reason why is because I don't want them to be too long that they start poking out of the dumpling wrapper. So I'm cutting them on the diagonal one to make sure that they stay short-ish, and also kind of against the grain because if you look at them, you can see that they grow this way. Just easier to chew through. These are also a little bit long, so I'm just gonna cut through them roughly. I have about 1/2 pound of shrimp, and I'm just going to take these shell off. They've already been deveined. I'm gonna save these shell to put in the broth. So just put them aside if you can. And if you don't have any, don't worry about it. But this will just make the broth a little bit tastier. I'm using the 21-25 size shrimp, and that just means that you get about 21 to 25 shrimp per pound. Now these are the larger ones. You can get much smaller ones, but I like to use these because I want to be able to crunch into the shrimp, but I do want to cut these down a little bit. So I'm going to cut them so that they're about that size, and you want to have about 2 pieces per dumpling. And lastly, we also want to use 1/4 pound of ground pork. So you want the proportion to be about 2 parts shrimp and 1 part pork. The pork kind of holds everything together. I'm going to put that in along with our bamboo shoots. And our wood ear. All right, now we're going to add our seasonings. I have 1 teaspoon of sugar, and the sugar is just to balance all the flavors out. 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Something that I don't often put in Chinese cooking is chicken bouillon. So I'm using a teaspoon of, this is better than bouillon, chicken bouillon. Oh, just stick it in there.
Can't be bothered, Flo.
That will just add a little more extra flavor that you probably wouldn't expect. And about 1/4 teaspoon of ground white pepper, 1 teaspoon of sesame oil, 2 tablespoons of cooking oil, whether it's vegetable oil or I'm using corn oil, and 2 tablespoons of water. Right, I'm just going to stir this up, and you want it to be paste-like. So this will probably take you about a minute or two of constant stirring. And as my mom has once told me, stir in one direction, otherwise you're going to undo everything. I don't know why that's true. I don't think it's true, but I don't know how you can undo everything by stirring the other way. All right, so this is the texture you want. And stirring in one direction actually creates these strands in the meat. And I don't know why that's important, but apparently in Chinese cooking it is. Maybe that's why everything's tastier. Ancient Chinese secret. For this particular dumpling, I'm using wonton wrappers. And wonton wrappers are much thinner than regular dumpling wrappers, unless you can get the ones specifically for this particular dumpling, which I believe is the same wonton wrappers, just in a round shape as opposed to a square shape. And this is something that's great that you can do with your kids, with Chinese New Year coming up. It's a good family time that you can spend together wrapping dumplings. You want at least 2 pieces of shrimp in each dumpling and a little bit of pork along with the bamboo shoot and some wood ear. And they don't wrap these in the restaurants like wonton, so I'm gonna attempt to pleat it as I think should be wrapped. Just kind of squeeze everything together so it all holds tight and nothing will leak. So the reason why the Chinese eat dumplings during Chinese New Year is because the traditional dumplings look like the old, what they call ingots, like silver or gold pieces. And that symbolizes wealth and prosperity. And I'm just dipping my finger in water, by the way, just in case you didn't realize. Like, this is not fancy at all. I'm just kind of squeezing everything together, making sure that it holds. And you don't want them touching because they might stick. So I'm just making stuff up as I go along. And if I can do it, you all can do it too. Then we'll just get these going for the taste and let you know how they turn out. We're just going to make a quick broth to go with the dumplings. And I am heating up on high 4 cups of chicken broth. I'm just using the Tetra Pak stuff. If you have your own homemade chicken broth, that would be really yummy. And you don't even have to do this part. If you just want to have it with the chicken broth without anything else, you can do that as well. And remember those shells that we saved from earlier? I'm just going to toss those in. That will just add some more flavor. I'm also using a very small knob of ginger. I don't know how much it is. It's just a small, half a thumb size. And I'm just gonna give it a good smash. Throw that in there as well. 2 cloves of garlic that I'm also gonna toss in there after I bruise it. And that is it. We're going to bring that to a boil, turn it down, let it simmer for 10 minutes. Also chopping up 1 stalk of a green onion for garnish. Okay, it just started to boil. Going to turn down the heat and let it simmer for 10 minutes. Okay, while your soup is simmering, or your broth is simmering, bring another pot of water to boil. I'm going to put the strainer in here so that when I put the dumplings in, they won't stick to the bottom. Okay, and then we're going to let that cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. And give it a stir every now and then so that they don't stick. Okay, once the dumplings start to float, you can turn the heat down a little bit so it's not like totally rolling boil. And to finish cooking them. Okay, turning off the heat. In restaurants, you probably get about 6 dumplings. Sometimes if you're lucky, you get 8. But at home, you can eat as many as you want. But just for the taste, we're going to do 6.
Yum.
All right, so after your 10 minutes is up, we're just going to scoop out and discard the shells and garlic and the ginger. Okay, adding 4 teaspoons of soy sauce and 1 teaspoon of sesame oil. Give it a stir. And adding some green onions for garnish and flavor, of course. Are you all ready for?
Yep. The taste. Nice aroma. Smells so good. When I order it in the restaurant, I get it in one of 2 ways. I don't ever get it with just the soup. I get it with either in the soup version, soup noodle version with the egg noodles, or I get it in the lo mein version, which is the dumplings aren't in a soup. They are put on the dry noodles with oyster sauce and a little bit of veg on the side, just mixed around with a side of soup. And then I get in some chili oil on the side, which is really good. All right. And I do prefer the soy gao over the wonton any day, all day, every day. I don't know how hot it is inside. You know me and burning my tongue on just anything remotely lukewarm. But for you guys, again, I'll do it for the team. Yeah. Great flavor. Well, the combination of the pork and the prawn, whereas the wonton you just get the prawn and pork filler that holds it together, but you get the additional items in here, and a lot of flavor, a lot of great contrasting textures with the crunch and the smoothness of the pork, and yeah, all together, great package. Dip this in some chili oil and you have a fantastic meal. Let's get a bit of that soup. Yeah, nice infusion of the ginger. Nothing strong with the shrimp shells, but definitely the infusion of all those elements together give a very flavorful soup that you can add soy sauce or whatever, more chili oil to your taste preference.
So with all the dumpling recipes, often you end up with a lot more than what you and your family can consume. So it is perfectly fine to freeze these. What I would do is just put them not touching on a sheet pan, put them in the freezer, wait till they're frozen, and then just throw them in a Ziploc bag. And cooking them would be the exact same, just 3 minutes. Once your water is boiled, wait till they float to the top, and they're that easy to have on hand. These would be great without the broth, served on top of the shallot noodles that I made last week. If you haven't already checked out that video, I'll see you over there.